Alright, so we're ready. This poll, if let me because it's kind of let's see how comfortable over here. Alright, well, alright, let me stand. I'm gonna stand right here. It'll help me to relate better. Well, again, good afternoon. My name is Khepra. Have just a quick survey. How many people have been to Khepra's Raw Food in DC? Okay. How many people are familiar with raw food as a cuisine? All of you? Okay. Okay. And how many people have done a juice cleanse, a juice fast? Most of you. Okay. How many of you done yoga? Okay. All right. I would hope that most of you. All right. So just a little bit about me, since most of you are not familiar with what I do and who I am. I'm originally from upstate New York, a small town outside of New York City, and grew up traditional diet, regular, what most people eat. I think as in high school, heard the concept, got familiar with the idea of vegetarianism, and it really made sense and appealed to me, as a high school person, not really knowing about nutrition and not really, it's like, okay, most people ate this and that. And then, I think at that age, I used to get a lot of pimples, so especially like right here, I used to get a lot of, I used to always be busting pimples on the sides here, and, and kind of felt like, you start doing those things when you get the pizza and you start taking the napkin to dab off the extra oil. It's like, so I mean that was like probably one of the beginnings of me trying to eat healthier. Dab off the extra oil on the pizza. Yeah. So, but again, I had started to cut out things like pork and red meat, and then later on chicken, fish. And then when I was in college, this is actually more than 25 years ago now. Had heard of the concept of raw food. Okay, it's taken it up a whole nother level, a whole nother extreme, and still is extreme for just in our society. So I had. The idea out again the same way that you stop eating red meat, you stop eating some of these other foods, you just eat only like enzymatic foods that's loaded with enzymes, foods that are fresh, foods that that don't need any additional heat. So I'll get into that in terms of fire, talking about fire, because fire is a key element not only to life in itself, but when we look at the idea of cooking foods or heating foods or burning foods and what that does to us. But nonetheless, back then, again, this is now early 90s, when I started playing with this, eating like a whole bunch of fruit, especially in the summertime, I'd get like a case of fruit. There was no Whole Foods back then. There was, the health food store was the health food store. It was the mom and pop. You walk in, it's kind of like you're walking into a warehouse. You got a little organic produce over here. You got like almond butter that costs $15 a jar. And like, so I was like, wow, this is like a whole nother world. And I started really delving into this back then. And uh, year 2000 is when I made the complete leap. I said, okay, I'm just going to eat this way. And so this was part of my journey. You know, I didn't go in with an idea of, you know, I mean, I attended Howard as engineering, mechanical engineering. I did all the way up to my master's. So I had a different mindset in terms of what my career would be. You know, being an engineer, and you know, wasn't thrilled about corporate America. I was on the PhD track. I was going to try to become a professor, but then got disillusioned with that in terms of for me. And again, didn't really have a plan in terms of saying, okay, I'm going to become a raw food chef of all things. A chef, just even a chef, but a raw food chef, and a restaurateur, entrepreneur, etc. So all of these things kind of, you know, one thing kind of led to another. On that journey, in that year, my first instinct was not just to start eating raw food, was to fast. So it was like, okay, okay, I can drink water, I can drink juice, or both, or you know, something like that. And you know, just kind of went in head first, didn't know what I was doing. Obviously lost a lot of weight. I don't know if I had a lot of weight to lose, but I lost whatever I had. I lost, and then you know, ultimately, it was some things. I actually became disillusioned with fasting because one of the mistakes that I made was that, like, especially when I did water fast, I don't know. It was like maybe a week, 2 weeks, however long it was. And I was doing a series of it. Like I would, like every month or every 2 months, I would do. Again, I was just on this mission. And what would happen, especially when I did water fasting, I would fast for a week, and then once I began eating again, it was almost like I was making up for the week that I lost. So I was eating double. I was like, okay, this is something is wrong. I'm not doing this right. So actually, I didn't fast anymore for like 2 years. I just said, look, the raw food diet is good. I'm just going to eat raw foods. I'm not going to fast. And for 2 years, and then I got introduced to the coconut water. And then that changed everything. And once I began to drink coconut water and then began to fast with it, it was a whole other experience. You know, one thing I say about coconut water, and I outline this in my book. I published a book in 2012. So one thing I outlined in my book in terms, and I actually brought some coconuts out. I'm going to cut some open, and you know, we'll see how much I can get. It should be enough everybody can get at least a sip. So I'll open a few coconuts up later. But once I began to fast with the coconut water, one thing I say about coconut water, it is the only substance that is both a water and a food. And what do I mean by that? I could juice pineapple, watermelon, celery, cucumber. I'm removing all of those things. I'm removing the juice from the fiber. It is not a whole food. Okay, at that point. Okay, is it beneficial? Is it something that can, you know, I can fast with? Absolutely. But the coconut water is just how nature produced it, and it's the only thing that can claim that dual distinction of being whole food and a water. Because now, what is food? When we eat something whole, it gives us whole nutrition. It's whole nutrition in the sense that it's actually going through all of the digestive channels. And so that's what coconut water does. So it eliminates the need for colonic. It obviously nourishes us. It nourishes better than any of these other commercial waters out here. you know, that they market and promote and put in these fancy bottles, and then we buy. Coconut water is one of nature's miracles, for sure. And once I began to fast with the coconut water, I was not hungry. I had energy. And it, you know, so, and it also, it created a balance, because there's a lot of things that happen when you fast. And I'm going to really get into that and really try to break it down so we understand all the different levels of giving the body the well-deserved break. And I'm not going to get off on a tangent, because I can do that real easy, especially when I'm talking about this. But when I started fasting with coconut water, it just changed everything. And so not only like what I was started to do back then and what we do now is like it became the base for everything. All of our juices that we serve. It's coconut water. So even if we, you know, one of my favorites is like when we juice like a citrus, like orange or tangerine, like that juice by itself can be kind of intense, kind of strong. And once when we cut it with the coconut water, we don't sacrifice any of the flavor. In fact, it enhances the flavor of your citrus and it makes it smoother. So it's just, I mean, that's just one example. I mean, we use it for the food. Actually, there's a savory chili that I made. It's the base for that. Well, it's the liquid base. Anything as a chef, anything that calls for water, coconut water. It's really, again, nature's true master cleanser. Anybody do the master cleanse? The lemonade? That is not the master cleanse. Anything you got to take tea or some other kind of substance in order to generate a bowel movement. Coconut water will clean your bowels. It will clean. Yes.
When you talk about coconut water, generally you're just talking about the raw, canned juice. You have to put the whole.
I'm gonna show you later. I'm gonna show you.
So my question is, we find a lot of coconut water in the store, Whole Foods stores.
Oh, absolutely.
And so would that if you can't get
Right. Oh yeah. You do the best you can.
Okay.
You do the best you can. To add to that, in terms of obviously, I know that probably 100% of you are not going to get a machete and get the green coconuts. In fact, I may have spoken too soon. I mean, it's all pretty and white, because when it splashes, it will stain and it will not come out. So maybe I got your hopes up. You have to go outside and do it. Well, we'll see. I can be careful, but you see some spots on the ceiling. Like, how did I get there? Some coconuts, and I got so many clothes that I just totally. I still wear them, but it's like what happens is you pop it up and it splashes, and you don't see it right away. It's when you wash it. You're like, I just washed it, and it's like all these dark brown spots, and it doesn't come out. So yeah, that's the interesting thing about coconuts. Another tidbit. But yes, you do the best you can. Obviously, there's a lot of commercial brands, obviously in the Tetra Packs. That's fine. I trust that water over your regular bottled water, because that's it's unregulated. I've seen. Again, it's something that I don't know. I've heard a lot in terms of people saying, "Oh, your tap water is just as good, if not better, than what you pay for." You do certain tests and things. One thing I say, and I say it in my book, is that really all drinkable water in nature should be in a distilled format. So what does that mean? Well, coconut water is naturally distilled. It's distilled with the coconut palm. All water and fruits and vegetables are all distilled. And really the best water, if we were going to drink water, if we were living in a more ideal environment, is rainwater. Rainwater is distilled from the ozone. And we should collect it. And a lot of, obviously communities that are more in tune with nature, they actually have to use the rainwater, which is a good thing. So they use it for drinking, for bathing, etc., etc. And it's oxygenated, it's distilled. These are the best ones. So once water touches the earth, it now starts to get in touch with inorganic minerals. So that's spring water. Okay, so the thing is that the minerals that spring water has are not usable in the body. And the body has to work to digest it. And that's why they say, oh, well, distilled water doesn't leach minerals. It does. It leaches the minerals that you don't need. So distilled water is the ideal water. Coconut water being the ideal distilled water. Okay, if you're gonna drink distilled water, like there's a company that call themselves Smart Water, and you look at it and it's distilled, but they add some electrolytes. Again, they're trying to mimic coconut water. Coconut water again has electrolytes, it has minerals. One of the most important minerals that in coconut water is loaded. Anybody can guess? Very good. You guys are smart. Potassium. And why is potassium important?
Absorption. It helps with absorption.
Okay.
Balance the water in the body.
Okay.
Helps with your heart.
Bingo. Heart food. It's a relaxant. And especially as practitioners of yoga, the potassium, we can't get enough potassium. And potassium just happens to not only be in coconut water, it's in all fruits and vegetables, mostly fruits and vegetables. So if you're eating mostly fruits and vegetables, you're getting lots and lots of potassium. Hypertension, high blood pressure is not so much a sodium indulgence of salt or sodium, it's really a lack of potassium. And how does that happen? When you eat too much processed foods, you're not getting any potassium, you're getting a lot of sodium. So we need sodium. Sodium is important. But coconut water has a perfect potassium-sodium balance. I love salt. I love salt. But I don't worry about, my food is not necessarily extra salty, but I get so much potassium. Now obviously if you have an advanced condition in terms of your hypertension, you want to be, you have to take a serious step approach to correcting that. But it is definitely correctable. You start drinking fasting coconut water. Now, one thing I in terms of, since we're doing a health challenge right now, and I know some people from this community have come and picked up juice cleansers, and so really what I want to touch on is this whole concept I've been developing. There's a raw food diet, and we can talk about that, and if you guys have questions about that, I'll definitely do my best to explain those things. But one of the things that I really like to talk about a lot is the importance of cycles. And in my next book, that's going to be in the title is cycles, the importance of cycles, because I think it's one thing to obviously it's midday. We understand that we're at a certain part of our 24-hour cycle where we're active. We get things done. We got responsibilities. We want to work out and do yoga. We eat during this time, or we should anyway. And then there are obviously cycles for the week. We do certain things on a Monday versus a Saturday. We could also look at the month, and then obviously, being a female, that even takes on another meaning. And then we have our seasonal cycle, which happens is our season. So we're in spring right now. What that all means. We had the Easter holiday, which is a celebration of the resurrection This is resurrection season. That's not a coincidence. So all of these things obviously have an impact on our health. And our habits, if our habits are in tune with the cycles, it's like, that's what I say, I like to say we're in rhythm with the cycle. So if we're not obviously in tune, or we're not, our habits, from daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly, then we're out of tune, we're out of sync. And that will have an impact on our health. So really this body is a machine. It's about being efficient, creating efficiency. When we invest in machines, car, appliances, all of these things have a warranty. They have a life cycle, okay? And obviously we want to do things, we do certain things, especially how much we invested in it, we want to extend the warranty. We want to extend the cycle of these things. But, what about this machine? Do we understand that this has a warranty? And what that warranty is? What's the warranty? Okay, and they say, well, lifestyle, genetic factors, environment, but if we understand our cycles, then we can probably make the most, barring, accident. And obviously we all have our time, and it's not necessarily about living to, trying to break against record. It's really about having, definitely having a quality of life. And so I'm gonna get into that. So let's really combine those concepts in terms of looking at fasting. I talked about fasting. I touched on cycles. In a 24-hour, let's take our 24-hour cycle. We could break it down into 3 periods. Like right now, well, let's start with our fasting period. That's the beginning. That's the night. So that's it. That will start at when the sun goes down. So we'll say 8 p.m. Okay, 8 p.m. That's when our fasting should begin. 24 hours every day, no matter what day, give or take. We have summer, and obviously we have the when we push the time up, so we're not, because it's really 2. So it's really 1:12, not 2:12, because they push the time up to extend the daylight hours in the night versus the morning. But that's another subject for another day. So we have our fasting cycle, 8 p.m. when the sun goes down. That's when we should give this a rest. And then that goes from 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. It's an 8-hour cycle, 8-hour period. All right. Usually that's when we're sleeping, or we should be anyway. And we're, what's happening when we're sleeping? We're rejuvenating, we're repairing, we're assimilating all of the food that we ate prior to 8 p.m. Okay. And then from 4 a.m. to 12 noon is our elimination cycle. So what's happening then? Basically, the body is now, rejuvenated from a rest, and now it's time to eliminate. So it's the cleansing period. So this is the period we want to assist that by bringing in lots of fluids at this period. Breakfast definitely by far worst meal of the day. Not the best meal of the day, it's the worst meal of the day. Especially the heavy starch, heavy stimulating drinks, the caffeine, because you got no energy. So you're trying to whip the horse. Because see, the energy doesn't come from food. It does, but it's a give and take. If your body got to use more energy than that food is given to you, that's not a relationship that is not conducive. I mean, anytime we're in a relationship and you're giving more than you're getting, and it's like, okay, something gotta change here. But that's the relationship we have with our food, with most food that's out here. it's taking more than it's giving. And so what happens? It keeps you eating. You know, we eat too much food, and because we don't eat food that has any nutrition or lacks nutritional value, it keeps you eating because your body is not is being fed, but it's not being nourished. So it keeps you eating. It's a wicked drug. That's what it is. So, and especially breakfast. You know, bagel, oatmeal, and the waffles, and the hash browns. This stuff is starch, it's glue, paste. Okay, this stuff, and it's usually it's devoid of any kind of nutrition. It's no nutritional value, but it's stimulating because it's sugar. And then what do you do? You don't eat it just the starch by itself. You gotta grease it. You gotta put some butter on it. You can't eat starch without grease. It just won't work. You know? I mean, and so we're committing double sin, and it's causing double murders. Especially at the beginning of the day. You've had a nice rest for hopefully at least 8 hours of being on the breath. Now you wanna slowly prepare these sensitive digestive lining for food. So you want to be bringing in water. Then after water, coconut water. After coconut water, fresh juice. After fresh juice, fresh fruits. After fresh fruits, fresh salads.
Would you run through that again, please?
Water, coconut water, fresh juices, fresh fruits, fresh greens, vegetables. These are all, all of those things, it's a stair step. We skip all of that. We jump over all of that and go to, because the thing is like, human beings, you know, we want, you know, there's something in the mind where we want the most by giving the least. It's the human nature. So we go for the starch and the meat. Because the starch and meat, that's at the top in terms of concentrated food. You know, so like things like pizza and sandwiches. And again, it's like, you know, they have this my plate. You know, so they got the starch and the meat. It's like they could cut that plate in half. And then, you know, if you get the dairy, you know, fruits and vegetables. Little nuts, seeds, etc. But the important thing, just by cutting out breakfast, because look, we're not hungry when we wake up. Okay, the only way that you are hungry when you wake up is you didn't eat the day before. If you didn't eat the day before, and even if you didn't eat the day before, you may not be hungry right when you wake up. You may be hungry later in the afternoon, or maybe late morning, or after you work out. Like, look, you know, burn some energy, some calories, and then it's like, okay, your body's asking. But we don't really know. Our society, it's a consumerism society. So, you know, there's one thing to buy, you know, stuff, but it's another thing to consume food. So the consuming really starts with the food and the food choice. And the thing is that we're eating a lot of empty nutrition. And because it's empty, we end up eating 2-3 times a day with snacks. It's constant. So now we don't have, okay, so you start with breakfast, you got your starch and your coffee and all that. Now you're hungry for lunch. Because again, the breakfast is still right here. But you're hungry, you want to eat lunch, you want to have, okay, I'm gonna do a soup and a salad, or a sandwich and a salad. I'm gonna get the salad in there finally, right?
And chips. That's an American thing.
See, but see, what happens is that, you know, most of us may be working in an office, sedentary. We put lunch right on top breakfast, now the body's like, and goes into emergency mode, sleep. Because now it's trying to, because that cycle, see, our sleep we should have at night ideally. But the thing is, like, now you created an emergency type situation. You got too much food and it's taking too much of your energy. So your body wants to sleep. You say, oh, I can't sleep. I gotta work, I got responsibility. So now you go for the caffeine to try to wake. And then it's just years, decades, people are doing this. And then when something happens, when the body throws a real emergency, a tumor, the flu, now you start blaming it on germs. So you see the craziness of our ways and the craziness of our understanding of our ways. Okay, this is the real. This is every day, and so the thing is that okay, well, when should we eat, and how much should we eat? And this is where the raw food diet really becomes king, because there's not any of those, especially the raw food cuisine. There's not any of those things that I mentioned. Obviously, you start your day with, like I said, fluids, moisture, even more important than enzymes. Obviously, we should be 70% water. But as we age because we become less water. Okay, so when we start our day, at least the first half of our day, should be nothing but majority fluid, majority water. We're getting a nice kidney flush. We're urinating and using our bowels before we even put anything physical. We should be at least 2-3 times before anything physical goes in. Okay? So that brings us to our third period in our 24-hour cycle, which is the building cycle. So this is the cycle now where the organs along again, and this is right in tune, right in rhythm with the sun and our activity. If we're active, then we practice, or we're moving around. Now the body's like, okay, I'm ready. So that's the time where now fats, proteins come in. And generally for me, I'll eat my meal. Like I'll have at least, I like to start my day with drinking at least 32 ounces of coconut water. And then I'll probably have another 16 to 32 ounces of fresh juice. Depending on what the nature of that day is, I may eat some fruit. And then by this time, this is maybe 3-4 o'clock. And this is all I've had. So I'll eat my meal somewhere between 4 o'clock and 7 o'clock. Okay, and that's my one meal, and that'll carry me through dinner. So I mean through the rest of the day. I like to finish the day the way I started. So either I drink like after maybe an hour or two after I've had my meal, then I'll drink, either have a juice, I'll have some fruit, like I like to eat pineapple or papaya, or something like that. I've been enjoying cherimoyas. You know what that is? Heard of that? Yeah, again. So that's something but it's a delicious fruit. So that's my typical day. Now, in terms of fasting, people they created a term called intermittent fasting. So what I'm doing is intermittent fasting, even though, so that's become like a popular thing now. But why? So, like, I like to make analogies, and I mentioned warranty. I mentioned life cycle. So there's a couple of theories, ideas in terms of our warranty. And I've looked at like animals, different animals. Some animals have, maybe like rodents. Rats. They have like maybe a 2-year lifespan, and then you have like turtles. Some turtles may live 200 years. Okay, so those are the two extremes. All right. So if we look at a rat, for example, rats they live a very compact life. They have they gestate, or they can impregnate every week. Okay, and they can actually have a litter every month. So everything is accelerated. And then obviously, you have the other extreme, where things happen a lot slower. And then, I guess we fall somewhere in the middle. However, as human beings, I like to think that we have a say with our lifestyle. Again, if it's in rhythm with those cycles that I talked about, or at least I only talked about the daily cycle, but, we have, again, weekly cycles, monthly cycles. But I want you to just kind of follow me here with this idea that we can not only have a say, but we can create that for good and for bad. Because if we're on this collision course and we're eating the worst foods, and we're not our lifestyle is just totally, then it's going to be closer to the rat in terms of how everything happens quicker. Especially with our male and female. So we'll mature faster, and faster doesn't mean better. So our youth will become developed at an earlier age than they should. And because the body, the human spirit, wants to reproduce. So the thing is like, if it's on a collision course, basically if it knows that is the lifestyle is not necessarily nourishing or life-giving, then everything will speed up. Okay? So and vice versa. We're eating, just like eating, within a 24-hour cycle, we should be eating once a day. We should only be putting fats and proteins in one time a day. It takes a 24-hour cycle for us to effectively and efficiently process that. If we're doing that 2 and 3 times a day, we're quickening this cycle. We're putting 3 days, if we're having 3 meals, we're putting 3 days into one. We're working the body 3 times as hard and getting maybe half of what we're getting, or what we should be getting if we're eating ideally. So what happens? Then the body will probably not last, or maybe last 3 times less, or expire 3 times as fast as it should. I like to, again, there's a couple of theories I won't go into them, but let's say, okay, an ideal lifespan, 120 years. If we're using the body 3 times as much as we should be, just with digestion, then we can say, okay, we divide that by 3, we get 40. Let's look at 40. 40, that's when really, you could tell a lot of things really begin to break down at 40. Let's be honest, we all know this. Again, what we could do, we fully mature at 20, okay, and then at 30, okay, we can kind of tell the difference, but you can really tell the difference between 30 and 40. And 40, it really is just, so, and again, I attribute it to the overworking, the overusage. We really should not be, we're just requiring too much. I work with a lot of, as a chef, work with a lot of appliances. If I'm using this blender 3 times as much, it's going to expire 3 times as fast if I'm not using it. I'm using it. So it's the same. This is an appliance. This is a machine. We all drive cars. Or at least driven in a car. I mean, it's the same thing. The maintenance is how we care for the vehicle and how much we drive the vehicle. So with digestion being the key thing. That's the key thing that we demand of our body. We just throw it down there and we just, expect the magic to just continue to happen. And so we really have to bring this concept of less is best. Less is more. And especially when we're bringing in the quality water, the quality nutrition, the fresh fruits and vegetables. Then we're talking about efficiency. Now we're talking about putting the premium fuel. You put the premium fuel in there, you don't have to put as much fuel in there. Now we're saving money. We're requiring less of the body. Okay, so the other concept I like too, because it's like I really like to think that life really begins at 40. I mean, at 20 you don't have a clue. You just like whatever. You just don't know. You think you know, but you don't. 30 you start to get a clue. But 40 it's like okay, you got it. But now you're breaking down. You're breaking down. And in the habits, it's hard to break free from those habits because you've been doing them all your life, and this is what's normal. This is what's usual. So now we're in our spring season. This is our everyone's is super motivated. I mean, my best months of the year at my shop are April and May. And I didn't really figure it out until this year. I was like, man, people are really motivated by summer. People want to get right for summer. That's it. People want to get. I mean, we're all here. We're doing this health challenge. But talk about doing a health challenge in November or December. That's really the month. Why? Well, when we look at our day cycle, right, and our fasting period, it's in the night. So we can expand that day into a year. So what would be the equivalent of that 8 p.m. to 4 a.m.? That's the winter months. That's when nature goes to sleep. That's the time that we should be somewhat hibernating. So what does that mean? Obviously the sun's gonna come out, but the days are shorter. Our energy, our healing energy is not as strong as it is now. Nature is just busting out of the ground. All the trees, I look out, see all the green. A month ago, all those trees were bare. The blossoms and everything's sprouting. So our healing energy is strong right now. We're more resilient. But when we go into fall, the sun, days are getting shorter. We don't heal the same way. But what are we doing? We have these traditions and these practices where we're feasting, celebrating, we got families, doing all these things. So we're really undoing ourselves when that's a sleep cycle of the year. And we should be doing more. See, part of it is electricity. Now, I can appreciate electricity more than anyone. But if we didn't have electricity, we'd have a whole different, that would have a whole huge impact on our lifestyle, especially in that time of the year. If we had, because once the sun goes down, our activity, it's like when DC had the power outage, half the city was dark. And that's what it seemed like. Even when the sun was up, it just felt dark because, again, it felt like a country town. The energy was all different. So electricity becomes paramount. October, November, and especially December. So, and it's everywhere. I mean, if it's not your family, your workplace, you got to celebrate either the holidays, the New Year's, you got the office parties, you got all this stimulation, and really activity should be less. So that's the time of the year where I do my longer fast. So, I do my intermittent during the day. I have a week, during the week, at least one day a week, I'll actually fast for more than a 24-hour period, one day a week. I don't necessarily do anything once a month per se, but definitely once every 3 months, I'll do, with the change of seasons, I'll do at least 3 to 7 days, depending on which season it is. And obviously with the December change, then I'm doing I'm doing longer than a week. Because that's the time when the energy is, at least the solar energy is weakest. So my energy is weakest. So it's definitely a time for me to fast and for me to reflect on the year, to plan for the new year. See, all of this stuff will, work, you can really work through and apply to different parts of your life in terms of how you plan, reflect. It's definitely not a time it's a time to go within. Again, the lunar dark energy is more dominant. So that's our emotions, that's our internal energy. Where now the solar energy, the outward energy is becoming more each day, more and more dominant as it leads us into summer. So that's a little bit about fasting. And in this time of year, as I said, this is the time where, again, I understand, trust me, the motivation. But I want you to think about 6 months from now and have that same motivation. When, your energy and such may not be, or your motivation may not be as strong, because it probably won't be. Okay, so, I'm going to touch on 2 things, and I kind of touched on this in a roundabout way. When I talk about health, and I talk about, especially, including more raw foods in your diet, there are 5 things that I like to outline. So let's talk about it. The first is what we've been talking about is detox. And so what happens with the detox? And why is that important? Well, again, the body is self-healing. There's really nothing outside of us that can do what the body is not already designed and programmed to do. The problem is that, again, we never give it a chance to do its work. And until it throws you a crisis where you say, okay, now you've lost your appetite because the body's trying to force you to fast. So 9 times out of 10, there are some unique circumstances where it may require some special intervention. And I'm not talking about necessarily like drugs and surgery. I'm talking about maybe some specific herbal remedies and things. But 9 times out of 10, the best healing, and really the only healing, is self-healing. Again, the body already knows how to do what it's designed to do. But again, we got to just step out of its way and allow it to do it. I mean, we don't know what it is. Again, I talk about us living in a consumerism world. We don't know what it is to be hungry. To be hungry is actually, periodically is a good thing. If we were more in tune with our environment, Or if we were, let's say we didn't have supermarkets, we had to forage and hunt or find our food, just like most of the other creatures in wildlife, they expend all their energy their whole day looking for food. You know, we have it so good. You can just go around the corner and get everything we need. We have it too good. So the thing is like, because we have it so good, again, we're eating too much. We don't know what it is to be hungry. And the thing is like, once we miss a meal, we feel that hungry. Well, a couple things start to happen. Number one, the body begins to detox. So, you miss a meal, it's like, generally the first thing that happens, you get a headache. So what's happening? Like, why am I getting... Well, what's happening is that there's so much toxins in the blood. When those toxins start to circulate other than right here, because you've been, everything is right here because you're constantly eating. 3 meals a day with snacks. But now you missed a meal, now that blood starts to circulate up here. And that blood that got all that stuff in it is causing irritation. And it's having what I call a hungry headache. Because once you eat, the headache goes away. But now you've missed an opportunity for the body to cleanse. Indeed, that's what it's trying to do. So that's a big symptom. Also, nausea, all of these things. Because again, you're compact. See, in nature, we have like feast and famine cycles naturally. So when we feast, we gain weight and build up some reserves. And during the famine cycle, now our body uses up those reserves. But we never give our body a chance to use up those reserves. And the main thing is, and I talk about this, is like, what's a blessing and a curse is mucus. Mucus is our best friend and our worst enemy. Okay? And the thing is, like, when we eat anything really, body creates mucus. It's a good thing. But when we eat in starch, and meat, and dairy, it's creating a lot of mucus. And that mucus is, again, it builds up in the lymphatic system. And it stays there until the only way we can get out of it is not through a colonic, it's not an herbal tea, it's to fast. Because, again, anywhere the blood travels is where mucus travels, and that's the lymph job is to constantly try to keep the blood. So then, you start to have stuff like, high blood pressure. I took my pressure's high. Yeah, your lymph is all compacted. Too much mucus is everywhere. We got to pull the plug and bring the juices in. Detoxification is again, the body's always looking to heal and to balance itself. And we never give it a chance. We're stuck into our daily habits, traditions, rituals, these things, and these things are really almost insurmountable to break from. So coming to a talk like this, education, willpower, you got to use anything and everything at your disposal, like all the tools to try to work against, because again, especially going back to the mucus. So now when you get a detox, now the mucus starts to come out. And it definitely shows up on your tongue. So if you've ever done a juice cleanse, you want to start to examine your tongue. The mucus will come, because again, this is one tube. I say the colon starts here. So if you're doing the colonic, you're only getting the last part, the colonic. The colon starts at the mouth. And that mucus, and again, and like I said, it's like, because it's the whole idea, like, okay, we should fast until we don't see any more mucus. And that's kind of more of I think, an unrealistic ideal. Again, mucus is a good thing. It's our protection, especially when we're eating bad stuff. So again, that's one thing that definitely keep in mind. And then like really, you know, the last thing I'll say about mucus is that it's really the root of all disease and all illnesses. So once we accept that and understand that, you know, whether it's, again, like I mentioned, hypertension, diabetes, physical stagnancy, pain, again, mucus is, you know, if we have, you wake up, you got mucus coming out of your eyes, you got, maybe you got dry scalp, that's mucus on the scalp, just dry skin in general, just, again, mucus everywhere. So again, the body is just trying to use any and every available channel. Then it develops into tumors when it's not, and so, and one of the most unfortunate things is that when you have to go on the operating table, because really what you're doing is you're cheating now. And when you cheat, especially if you cut out like a organ, or you cut out that tumor, and where it took decades, not even years, it took decades to develop. And it all started with mucus. You go on the knife and they just cut it out. Now you're going down a path that can be in most cases irreversible. Because then a year later, 2 years later, it's something else, or it's the same thing. And because you've already violated the body like that, then it will, that you're just going down the spiral of your vitality, your energy, your life, everything will just be very much compromised. So we can do much better, but it has to start with, again, what we do every single day. And then obviously, every week, every month, and then every year. Because we're all motivated, right? We're doing this health challenge. Like I said, come November, we still gonna be motivated. Come December, yeah, we're gonna be motivated in January. Oh, it's a new year. Time to set in our resolutions. And then obviously that motivation, continues. But I'm really more concerned with the year because our vitality and everything is at its weakest, and then we do the worst. I didn't even mention Thanksgiving. I didn't mention we got a whole holiday for feasting. Okay, so those are some things to think about. So detoxification, very important. After you fast, one of the things when I talk about food in general is becoming green. Becoming green has become this nice sounding environmental sustainability, all those nice sounding terms. What about the sustainability and the good practices of this body, this earth, this animal? Again, it's easy as long as we don't have to change any of our habits, our lifestyle habits. Well, it changes, but it's all external. It's like, okay, I'll recycle, I'll use less water, I'll get a hybrid car, all those things to make us feel good. But what about, again, this earth? Because, as within, so without. If we do it from within in here, then everything else will be automatically taken care of. So that's a big thing. And the thing is like, even especially for the vegans, the vegans, they go from the meat and they eat more starch. And, we talked about starch. I don't have to really go into that. And really the only healthy way to do more of a vegetarian diet is to do mostly raw diet. It's because you got to replace the starch with the green leafy vegetables. You're replacing acid with alkaline. Okay? And that's really the only way to give up. Because that's the highest, that's the strongest, the hardest, most addictive drug on the street. cooked starch. Bread, cereal, pasta, potato. Highly addictive drug, not food, drug. And we have to cook it. See, one of the things, going back to what I was touching on earlier about the cycle, we're eating raw foods. We're eating food that's cyclically in rhythm. We're eating foods that have, a season, that are using the sun and the moon and the earth and the rain and the wind. It's all in harmony. Okay? Now, when we look to cook a food, and of course the oven is the sun. The sun is the fire that's cooking this food perfectly. Slow cooking, right? It's real slow. Slow, we can't even see with the eye. So when we cook something in a stove, on the stove, in the microwave, we're trying to accelerate and do something very quickly. We're trying to mimic what the sun does to our food naturally. Because the growing process is the cooking process. And it's in rhythm. So you want to be in rhythm, you eat raw food. But and cooked starch being the main thing that you have to cook in order to eat. If you don't boil it or fry it or deep fry it or deep steam it, then you can't chew it, you can't process it, but it's going to process you. See, there's a karmic relationship with cooking and our health. And then the thing is, like, even for whatever you put to fire, even for people who smoke, for example, they say, oh, what about cannabis? And smoking. The thing is, like, you bringing that intense fire is giving you that intense high that is throwing you off balance. Because then, that's an alkaline substance. But it's creating an unbalanced alkaline response which gives you the high. But then after that, you want to come back, so that's what gives you you crave the acidic munchies, the acid munchies. So again, it's again extremes, and that's what fire and cooking does. It's too extreme. Meat. Most of the meat we want to cook, we want to ripen. See, cooking is a ripening process. We're trying to ripen it, just like the sun ripens our fruits and vegetables. And we're cooking the meat that's hard, difficult to chew, difficult for our body to break down. So we burn it, well done, or even medium, whatever, so we can chew it, process it. But again, it's very acidic. It throws us off rhythm. And again, we'll pay sooner or later. So I touched on those things. The last thing I'll talk about, like, especially in terms of fasting, I have this thing where I have like levels. So when I mentioned like the water, coconut water, fresh juices, I put those all in the level 1. Because we actually detox. The strongest, people think that like green juices are more detoxifying than fruit juices. And that's actually the furthest thing from the truth. It's not a bad thing, but the thing is like we have to understand detox. See, the less we put in, then the more our body will detox. So the less of the less is air. So for those that do a dry fast, you actually detox the fastest. You detox so much you don't have any energy. You have to rest. If you do, and I don't recommend a dry fast, but there are people who dry fast, and that's the strongest detox. Then you have water, specifically distilled water. Again, You're putting something in, your body's doing some work, but that water is now allowing for the detox. You have increased urination, you detox second fast. Then spring water. You're giving your body some mineral, some energy with the spring water. But then next is your coconut water. But you got balanced whole food nutrition as a water. Only thing that, and that's the perfect, ideal, fast, true master cleanser, is your coconut water. And again, this is all like level 1. And then you have fruit juices. So some of the fruit may have some fiber, so you're giving your body a little work to do, but your body is still detoxing at a good rate. And for most people, that's a good thing. You don't want to detox too fast. This is a marathon, definitely not a sprint. Especially with changing the ways of this animal, it may take another lifetime. Then green juices. Okay, green juices have more nutrition than fruits. So you're going to detox less, which is not, so this whole idea that you detox more, no, you don't. Fruits are cleansers by nature. You're eating a lot of fruits, they actually are very cleansing. That juice, that's detergent for the body. Natural detergent. Vitamin C. High in vitamin C. Then we got our milks. Specifically our like coconut milk, nut milks. So that's next. So again, all level 1. Now what's level 2? Level 2 is like, now you're starting to include some fiber. So fresh fruits, simple salads, level 2. And then level 3 is again when I say fats and proteins. Nuts, seeds, sprouts, just heavier foods that take a few hours for the body to process. Okay, why is this important? Well, for me, as I mentioned, maybe just understand it, because even with level 2, your body would still detox. Again, slower than it would if you were just drinking fresh juice and coconut water, but it's still detox. So I think it's important to understand the different levels. And even for most people, just eating raw, people detox. Again, a lot slower, but that's fine. Because again, when we're trying to change habits, we're trying to bring change, and again, change doesn't, because even when you conquer, you say, okay, I'm fasting, I'm eating fresh, now, we're all in relationships. Maybe your partner's not down with it. Maybe your mom is not down with it. You got a family function. You got family reunion coming up this summer. You got year-end holidays. It's like, so these things are all like roadblocks. But it's all in how we handle it. It's definitely we want to take the approach to be inclusive. To try to share the knowledge and to become to be more influential. We'll cut it there. Last thing I'll say, I mentioned my book. This touches on some of the things that I talked about. So I published this in 2012, talking about coconut water specifically as a cleanse. And I also talk about like how, actually coconut water is the only water I drink. Now I don't know, from the research I did, no one recommended that. So I just kind of said, well, I'll be the guinea pig. So far so good. It's been a number of years. It's been at least 10 years. Only coconut water is my only water. So I normally sell this for $14. Today, $10. Today only. My cleanse. Just for doing the health channel, I have some brochures here that discusses the cleanse. Typically, most popular is the 3-day. I encourage, but what happens? It takes about 2 to 3 days for the intestines to empty. So normally that's the toughest part, is to get over that hump. But once the intestines empty, then it's like you're on easy street. So I try to encourage people, especially if it's the first time, to do at least 5 or 7 days. But if it's just like, if you've done it before and you know what to expect, and it's like more of a maintenance thing, then 3 days is great. So, you know, again, today we'll be, you know, actually you can pay and schedule today if you want. Or we run on Groupon a lot, so we'll extend that price. Today, I think the 3 days $79 plus tax, and the 5 days $125, and so on. And we have longer packages as well. You know, one thing we started doing like 2 years ago is, you know, if people want to do, you can do 7, 14, or 28-day raw food. So we have like raw food, like when you come and get actually a large meal, is more than enough food for a day. We have that. We have juice. You can actually do food and juice. So that's some of the things we do. I do trips every now and again. At least once a year I do a trip. So I have flyers for my previous trip I did in Jamaica in February. So that's really the only time I do classes. And then, you know, we're in the tropics, and, you know, that's all love and great. And then my shop, you know, so if you haven't been down 8th Street in DC, I know Kendra's been trying to recruit me up here. It's actually my first time on this block. I did not know it existed. I've been around, obviously going on East West Highway, but I thought the GPS was leading me wrong. I said, wow, okay. But, so, you know, who knows what the future holds. And then I brought some chili I'll serve out. We definitely have more than enough. And I have some coconuts. We'll see. I don't know. All right, well, hey, it's your studio. Yeah, I'll be careful. I've been doing this a long time.
So the classes are
No, I did have classes a few weeks ago, but I won't be doing any classes locally, not for the foreseeable future. Is there any questions? Yeah.
So my question is, one of the things from all the reading that I've been doing is, yeah, I'm sorry. Is this better? Yeah. Okay. So in all the reading that I've been doing about making sure that the weight loss happens, because my goal is weight loss and also better health, the importance of protein keeps coming up, and I am mostly a vegetarian. Like, you may catch me eating brisket every now and then. So how do you get the amount of protein?
Great question. So she's asking about protein. I mean, I laugh because one is business. That's the first motivation. You know, just like breakfast is the most important meal of the day, we need so many grams of protein. Now, protein is what? On a basic level, it's acid, amino acids. Okay, so if we're eating protein, we're eating an acidic or high protein. We're eating even nuts and seeds. Those are acidic foods. And the thing about protein is that it's very difficult and hard on the body. Especially even the raw food protein, raw vegan protein. It's overrated, number one. And it's definitely business motivated. And then also, the thing is, like when we talked about our life cycle, we're not 12 or 5. We're full maturity. We're not gonna grow a few more inches. We're everything physical has protein. Orange juice has protein. Your greens, just by the physical nature that you chew it, it has protein. And we don't need very much protein. And the studies show high protein diet is a high likelihood of cancer. So the protein is really, again, we're not doubling in size. We're not trying to, you said weight loss. So the thing is that protein is really, again, and a lot of times, see, in nature, protein is usually, where you find protein is where you also find fat. Okay, and even dishes where it's high protein, they add fat to it because taste-wise it won't taste right. Fat is soft, it's gentle, it's smooth, like butter or oil, and that's what balances the rough nature, the rough physicality of protein. So avocado, is a good example. Mostly fat, but it has protein. And the thing is that, but these protein powders and things, they process to remove the protein from probably the fat part of it. So now you've got this abrasive material that you're putting in, because again, it's just mental programming, manipulation, all of that. So again, protein, very much overrated, in my opinion. If you're eating fruits and vegetables, you're getting plenty of protein. Great question. Any other questions? It's probably the best thing for kidney disease. Now, obviously, your situation is unique, but obviously, kidney, any imbalance with the organs is obviously, again, the organs have been overstressed, overused, overstressed. And the thing is that, this concept also extends to the fact that, okay, maybe you drink a gallon of water a day, right? But you're still not hydrated. Why? Because we really need to, it's one thing to drink your water, but I like to say, what about eating your water? So we're not eating foods that have water. See, when we chew, we're supposed to be chewing the fiber. This is a juicer. The juicer takes juice from the fiber. That's what our bodies are designed to do. When we chew, we're chewing to get the juice. The juice is where it's at. But we're eating foods that don't have any juice. So what ends up happening is that, and especially if we're eating like meat, because the juice of the meat is the blood. See, the blood, that's what the nutrition is. But we cook the blood out, we don't want to see that. But the juice of the fruits and vegetables, we're not eating. So therefore, there's this whole lack of hydration that's happening because we're eating. We could drink water all day, but it's not going to have a huge impact on our health because really our nutrition should be coming already water in, the perfect water, nature's water, from fruits and vegetables. So another, again, great question. Yes.
Is it when you buy coconut water from the store, is it any particular brand? Because I noticed some coconut water has a lot of sugar in it. So I tried to look for one that had less sugar. So it's like
well, as long as it doesn't have any added sugar. One thing about sugar, our bodies run on sugar. We cannot. If you're eating sugar. The most bitter is sugars. It's just bitter tasting. So there's sweet tasting sugar and there's bitter tasting sugar. Obviously, the bitter tasting sugar is more healing. And bitter, because when you're tasting bitter, you're tasting minerals. So if you're tasting more sweet, you're tasting less minerals. But sugar, it's all sugar nonetheless. So the thing is that if it's sweet tasting to you, what you can do is balance it with some sour. Squeeze some lime in there. Or you could balance it with something more bitter. You know, noni juice. I love it. That's one thing that I love to do, especially in the wintertime. Like I like to get the noni juice, fresh noni juice. And I get, what's some other? There's a lot of ideas, but that's the first thing I do. Is definitely do the sour. That balances the sweetness. If sweet is if you don't want to drink it and it tastes sweet, you want it to taste more of a balanced taste. But yeah, I mean the whole sugar thing is a big thing, because again, you know, sugars are just like fat, just like salt. We need all those things: fat, sugar, and salt. All my favorites. Okay, but we do them in a balance and in a way, in the best form possible. You know, we don't have to avoid these things, and you know, healthy eating doesn't have to be painful. We want it to be very joyful and very delicious. We should enjoy it.
Brand that you recommend, I think is part of
Oh, well, well, there's I always start with they have this brand called Harmless Harvest. What's nice about that is that it's not pasteurized. So that's nice, and that's in most health food stores. And then you have, and then the other ones are all pretty much the same. I mean, yeah, you know, I'm not a fan of the ones that come from Thailand. I don't like the Thai coconuts. Because they're bred. They're not like coconuts I have here. They're more bred to be sweet. So, and that's happened to a lot of our food. You know, they'll modify it so that it tastes sweeter. But when they're doing that, they're lessening the nutritional value. It's like I said, bitter. When you taste some more bitter, you know, bitter is we really want to get away from sweet tasting things and challenge us to step outside of our comfort box with our palate and eat more bitter foods. Just eating kale or collards with no dressing, or parsley, cilantro, or dandelion even. You know, just chewing these things and tasting it for what it is, and appreciating the taste. If we do that more and more and more, then you eat something sweet, especially starchy sweet, you can't do it. You know, and that's when you know, when you change up here, then you know you've changed in here, because it's connected. Like what's in here is gonna send signals to what you think you want to eat. You know, but it's a lie if it's false, especially in the starch form. You know, because that's the trick. So, and then no, it controls here. So you know, especially when you fasting, you know, it's like you'll come up with 1,000,001 excuses why you need to end your fast, and you're not really truly hungry. So the body will really use the mind and vice versa to lie on us, to lie. And you know, we have to understand that. You know, they say you are what you eat, but I say you eat what you are. What you've been eating is what you are. It's what your thoughts are. It's actually, if they took a sample of you, whatever your diet was, they'll see whatever that is. And it's probably one of the 4 agri-crops: corn, wheat, canola, and soy. That's everything. Even meat. It's those four foods, or false foods. You know, it's not all this stuff it's just stuff. It's not even food. Yes.
Is that when you start to like juice or to put leafy vegetables in something because you want to, get everything, the juice and everything. Is there a particular blender, or will any blender do, or should it, is there?
Yeah, any blender would do. I mean, don't get hung up on fancy equipment. I don't know how many times I heard, oh, I got all this equipment and I never used it, or I used it a little while and it's just sitting, like this. I mean, if you use it, I mean, I want to start hearing, oh, I got this cheap blender and I used it until there's no more, and then I had to. Like, I've never heard that. Like, I'm waiting to hear for somebody to say, I didn't work this thing to death. So I like to hear more of that than to hear like, oh, I didn't spend $400 for a Vitamix, and do you want to buy it? I haven't used it. Like, yes, sir.
All right, there are blends that you recommend, like in the morning versus someone who's really active in the morning. Really active.
Well, that's a great question, because like, if you're really active in the morning, now with the higher activity, especially in the morning, that sort of changes things a little bit. Especially if depending on how active you are, if you're doing cardio or all of the above, cardio. So you may like, basically I would say like what I talked about, like level 1 and then level 2. So I would just like do, before I eat any protein or anything like that, I would do like maybe a big fruit meal. Like if we're in the summertime, watermelon. I mean, how many people can eat a whole watermelon? Like, you get full, it leaves quick, but then you eat more. So, do things like that, like find the fruits that you like and then fill up, eat those fruits until you get full. And that'll hold you for an hour, because you don't want to, just because you work out in the morning, you still don't want to eat until later in the day. And so I would just say maybe just eat, because you want to eat something, especially if you really worked up a good sweat, if you've done like whether the hot yoga or doing some other cardio. I would just say like just eat physical fruit, or do like a smoothie, like maybe a thick smoothie. You could even add like banana or avocado if you want it to be creamy, or some greens, and that'll hold you to like if you do like the 1 meal a day plan, which I all know you're gonna do, right? 1 meal a day. You're just not hearing me talk. All right, so we'll in the spirit of time, I'll go ahead. We'll serve this out. Can I use this table?
Yeah.
Okay.